Today, the Biden administration announced a significant change to the 321 program, specifically naming and targeting e-commerce Chinese sellers, which means Temu and Shein. And they are blocking imports through the 321 program of anything subject to 201 and 301 tariffs. What does that mean? It means that the items that we had the Trump tariffs on against China and other countries that we have issues with and therefore put tariffs on some of their items, those items are no longer qualified for 321 at all, regardless of the value of those items. They cannot be imported. And that's about 40% of all imported items to the US are subject to those, and about 70% of all textiles are subject to those. And obviously most of what Temu and Shein bring in are subjected to those. This is not a request to Congress. This is an action that the Biden administration is taking. They're asking Congress for some additional changes as well, but they're much less important than this change. Now, the way some of this works is the direct to China is clearly blocked, but what some of the items come in through Canada, stored in a Canadian 3PL, and then shipped to the US, or through Mexico and shipped through a Mexican 3PL to the US, is that blocked? While at the face of it, it seems like it would be. There's also USMCA, which is the free trade agreement between the US, Canada, and Mexico, which has its own rules. Now, as part of that, we agreed to an $800 de minimis. The US agreed to an $800 de minimis, but with the option, the US the option to change the de minimis threshold to match. The de minimis threshold would be, depending on the currency fluctuation, about $120 with Canada and $117 with Mexico. Now, would these items that are coming through 321 today from Mexico and Canada still be able to get through Canada or China or Mexico? We don't know that yet. It's not super clear. Certainly there's risk there that it is not allowed. We'll see how the enforcement happens. Now, speaking of enforcement, when will this be enforced? Again, it is not clear. While they could enforce it right away, there's no, the systems are not set up for it, and I'll explain what the systems need to do, but they're not set up for it today. So therefore, if they enforce it today, what that will cause is a huge backup at the border where there's planes that cannot be, will have to be turned around because they cannot be unloaded in the United States because they cannot be processed and because a lot of the items will be not compliant. The government can choose to do that and just block it, and the fact that your items are on a plane and you sold it to a customer, the US government doesn't really care. If the rules are such that you can't comply, then you still can't bring it in. Or they can delay the action to give the US Customer and Border Patrol, CBP, time. We will see. They have not clarified the timing on this as yet. I'm sure they're waiting to hear from some people and make that decision. The rules they're imposing, one rule is really almost like blocks the entire program, I think, which is that you have to identify the recipient. So the way it's supposed to work is you can only get one package per day per recipient through 321, but there's no way to track that. So what the government is saying now is you need to put in an identifier for each person in the US getting each package. What does that mean practically? Like if you wanted to buy items shipping directly from China, you'd have to put in your social security number as a US person. No one's going to do that. That friction is way too much. That will kill the program if that is the way it works. Now, other countries do this. Brazil does require you put a tax ID in. Brazil, of course, does not have a lot of one-off imports from the United States or from anywhere else in the world because of that and many other reasons. But if we enforce that rule as it seems to be written, that will also really destroy the entire 321 program, including from Canada and Mexico, because that's more of an enforcement than a change of agreement. So the government should probably be able to do that unilaterally and quickly. The administration will be able to do that unilaterally and quickly. So there's a lot to be determined on timing of this. There are many items that are not subject to 201 and 301. So about 60% of US imports are actually not subject to this. So you could still bring in, for example, from Pakistan, Vietnam, items, and the 321 program is not affected in terms of, it's not blocked, but the new rules around like providing the social security number would likely apply to those. So we'll see again if there's any clarification on that, where maybe those are not required, but if it is, it's going to really disrupt the program. And the reasons for doing that may be simply the US government loves to get information on everything. And this could be a data collection effort by the US government, so less about 321, more about data collection, but still would have a massive impact on the 321 program. So to me, that's the biggest thing to watch out for, as well as the timing when this will be implemented. But I think for Temu and Shein and everyone else who's importing directly from China, and there's a lot of other ones that are smaller, I think this ends that. I will follow up. I've been posting about 321 and talking about it for several months, expecting some changes. I'll continue to discuss as these changes evolve and how they're implemented. I'll give you the on-the-ground info. Thank you for watching.